When JF Musial and I went to the ALMS ILMC get-together called Petit Le Mans, we never really got together to do shakedown work. JF was in Atlanta with Audi doing his Lena Gade interview, which you saw on the October 6th Road Testament. Road Racing Testament, JF. And I was busy with business meetings and the like. So as the weekend ticked away, all I had was the groundbreaking news that the Audi R18 diesel makes no engine noise, and the Dunlop tire guy telling me the colder the track surface gets, the softer the compound they run. I realized I had no show for today. But Shakedown sponsor SimRaceway, the online racing experience, came to the rescue. Would you like 10 minutes with Allan McNish? He's our newest SimRaceway ambassador and sim development tester. Yeah, was my super profound reply, and Allan gave us much more than 10 minutes. So stay tuned as Mr. McNish and I get into his thoughts on how he races so aggressively, how traffic was a big deal at Petit Le Mans, the Audi Peugeot crash that settled the race, how to work race car setup, and the value of sim testing versus real testing. From on my ass with no show to interviewing one of the great racers of our generation, I may have pulled this shakedown out of my arse, as Scottish McNish might say. Those that know Allan McNish don't need me to tell you how awesome he is. And those that don't know Allan should know this. You're about to hear from a guy with 2 Le Mans 24 wins, 3 Sebring 12 wins, 3 ALMS championships, 4 Petit Le Mans victories. And when he's not P1, Allan is the total team player, running rabbit-fast laps to drive the competition into the ground or strategically grabbing points to help Audi win championships. It's his 9th year with Audi. Fast on track, the interview went fast too. You think I can cram words into the sweep of a clock hand with McNish? I've met my match. We start with one of Allan's great skills, his aggressive driving style. Allan, our viewers would love to learn from the master. To learn a little bit about how you make aggressive driving happen. You know, I don't know whether it's something you visualize or something you see or think about or grabbing the little Scottish terriers and just going for it. I'm sure it's more than that. How do you make aggressive driving happen?
To be honest with you, I think it's probably a little bit of everything. You've got to be aggressive, but you've got to be in control, as you know. And part of that is practice. Part of it is a little bit thinking ahead, planning things out. But you know, in racing, nothing ever always goes according to plan. But if you're one step ahead and start to dictate things, then it comes to you a little bit more naturally. Ultimately, there's this thing called the heart, and when that beats and the adrenaline's flowing around the system, it certainly does help the aggression come to the surface, I would say.
Now, I'm the old school guy that remembers that drivers used to manage when they were aggressive in a race, probably because of the technology of the car. But now that's all changed. We hear that over and over. But is there still something in endurance racing where you decide it's time to go, it's time to wait?
Well, actually now, more than the last few years, that is definitely the case. You have to balance things out a little bit more. It is a sprint race. You know, we don't have reliability problems. That's sort of gone out. You know, you just drive the car as hard as possible. But with the traffic and the things we have to deal with nowadays, we have to tune it a little bit more than we maybe necessarily did 4 or 5 years ago. And that is something that's a constant evolution process, because if you tune yourself down too much and your opposition gets a break, then the race could be over very early.
So that's a pretty good segue. We're here because of SimRaceway, and you're getting involved with them to help them with various aspects of their game, learning how to develop your skills. Talk to me a little bit about when a young driver should be aggressive. Are there skills and practices they should learn before they just try to go for it?
Well, I think that's it. That word there, going for it, is key. It's the right time to go for it, and it's not your first corner, your first lap. You have to develop and build up. You've got to walk before you can run, and that's the same in SimRaceway. It's the same in the racing car. The philosophies are exactly the same. And so from that point of view, for me, it's actually very exciting and a very interesting time, because I can see a real shift change into drivers coming from the virtual world into the real racing world.
I'm the ex-corporate suit, so the passion of racing is one thing, and I turn everything into an assignment, and I'm not trying to turn racing into a homework assignment. But here's a message I'd like to either get affirmed or put in context. It's not just about driving and thinking. There's homework here, taking notes as you work through your setup, as you learn things. Talk to me a little about how that really is valuable to store the knowledge and then apply it.
Well, basically, when you're doing a lot of testing, you have to keep little mental notes, but also physical notes. And so I write everything down at the end of a day. And then I can reference it back. It might be, in a year's time, but I actually sit and reference back situations and experiences as I go along. It's not just me that does that. It's not just the drivers. It's also all of the engineers. It's also all of the management. And it's a way of improving, because to be the complete racing driver, you have to be good on track, but you have to be good off track. And part of that off track work is doing enjoyable homework.
When I've been let back into a race car or a kart and all these sperms have been beating me, it's clear that people are applying this knowledge. So when you're online on the sim, take the notes, learn from what you're learning, as you said, try things, and that will translate into, as you said earlier, making the car do the job and giving you the margin to...
Yeah, well, it gives you the margin to actually use your driving skills further.
Yeah.
And that's I would say, one of the keys, because then suddenly you realize you can take your level up that little bit higher. You understand that where performances lie, and performance isn't always the last of the late breakers. That's something that is definitely the case.
I got to ask the question about brakes. Is there a technique that young drivers should try to aspire to understand how to use the brakes? I know Jackie Stewart does accurately the coming off the brakes as most, but talk to me a little bit about your sense of that.
Well, that's a little bit different depending if you've got a downforce car,
okay,
or say a saloon car. If it's a touring car, then you've got to be, I would say, a little bit more gentle going onto the brake, building up the brake pressure so you don't lock, if it's a front wheel drive especially. If it's a downforce car, then you hit it as hard as you can. We're putting nearly 100 kilograms of pressure through that brake pedal. It's an awesome amount. It's really hitting that pedal hard and using the downforce to slow the car down and then start to bleed the pressure off. You don't keep a constant pressure all the way to the apex of the corner, because the car just then would start to move around far, far too much.
In your world, your professional
Yes.
world right now, talk to us a little bit about the balance of sim time and real car time.
Well, it's changing now.
Okay.
That's clearly changing, because now simulation is getting so good. It is getting so detailed and so specific that you can actually develop your styles, but also you can develop cars on these things. And I have to say as well, for us as drivers, we just love to drive. And when we can't drive on the circuit, we love still to drive. And so SimRaceway is excellent to be able to do that. And when you go up to the school itself, you can really see the detailed development. And this is a voyage that it will be fantastic to see where it goes to in 5 years' time, because this is the first time it has ever happened where online sim racing and real track racing have gone together.
So in effect, where the top level teams like your Audi team are using those tools to create the complete package, SimRaceway is doing that for the young drivers who may not have that complete real racing team available to them.
Exactly. And they can also do it under a controlled environment with some of the best instructors around, and instructors that have not just got a little bit of experience, but vast experiences to be able to I would say, use all those little tricks and techniques that, only come with those little grey hairs that are on the top of the head.
Yes, and my point is then, your point is that accuracy, that knowledge, that experience get pushed into the sim for accuracy?
It gets pushed into the sim for many different things. It gets pushed into the sim for the accuracy, as you say, but also for the way that we can take, I would say, this whole concept, because it's very conceptual right now, but it's starting to put all the bricks in place to something that I think will definitely be the future.
And that brick analogy, it's not A, B. A, do your sim work, then do all your real-time driving.
No, the two are crossing over.
Okay.
Definitely crossing over. And I know, if you look at pretty much all of the top teams at the high end of the sport, they've got the drivers jumping in and out of the sim, jumping in and out of the car. In fact, at races, quite a lot of the big Formula One teams have got guys on the sim all through the night for the driving the next day.
So they take your feedback, they take the engineer's feedback, they run virtual, you show up in the morning.
Hey presto, you've got something new to try on the track.
Does that happen during Le Mans? Does that happen that way during the race, or no?
No, I have to say, at the moment for us, it doesn't. But 5 years ago, I would never have thought I was going to be winning in a diesel. So 5 years' time,
who knows?
You never know.
Thanks again. Pretty good stuff, right? It's fun to watch and listen to a professional. McNish, not me. And thank you, SimRaceway. Allan was doing advanced work for a few SimRaceway announcements that will be coming out soon. You already heard that they created the SimRaceway Performance Driving Center at Sears Point in California to be the most technologically advanced learning facility on the planet and the first to truly integrate online and real-world instruction and practice. In Atlanta, they previewed for Allan the soon-to-be-launched handheld steering wheel. Allan noted the feel, the button placements, and how it all aligned with his Audi. On the sim, the wheel put the car exactly where you wanted. Much SimRaceway news will be coming out in the next 30 to 60 days. Watch these guys. I'm just saying. And to Allan McNish, I gotta end today by saying a huge thanks. That was fun. I'm a real faded fish when it comes to celebrities, but Allan is one of the authentic guys, and I was in awe. That was Allan freaking McNish, and he said he watches Shakedown. No way. The camera didn't catch it, but inevitably, we talked about our height. And we agreed you can blame being picked on for being short for our outgoing personalities, our aggressive fight, and his taking no prisoners driving style. See, if you dudes were nicer to us when we were kids, we wouldn't be the trouble for you that we are now.
We're living